Personal and dependency exemptions are currently zeroed out, but dependents still matter a lot. Claiming a dependent can unlock credits and filing benefits, like the child tax credit, credit for other dependents, and education credits. On the EA exam, they'll often hide the real issue, not qualifying child versus relative, but whether the person passes the 3 gatekeeper tests first. Before you even ask qualifying child or qualifying relative, run the 3 primary dependency tests. Think of them as a bouncer at the door. If the person fails anyone, you're done. The 3 are the dependent taxpayer test, the joint return test, and the citizenship or residency test. EA exam tip: questions, love to test these as quick disqualifiers. First, the dependent taxpayer test. If someone can be claimed as a dependent by another taxpayer, that person can't claim dependence on their own return. This is a common trap with young adults. They file a return and try to claim a sibling or their own child, but if they themselves are claimable, they fail this gatekeeper test. Second, the joint return test. Normally, if a married person files a joint return, you can't claim them as your dependent. But there's one narrow exception the EA exam loves: the refund-only joint return. If they filed jointly only to get a refund of withholding and neither spouse would owe tax even if they filed separately, the joint return test is ignored. Here's how to think about that exception. 2 conditions. 1. The only reason for the joint return is claiming a refund. 2. Neither spouse would have a tax liability on separate returns. That second condition is the kicker. If either spouse would owe any tax separately, the exception fails. In the classic example, a young couple files jointly just to recover withholding from a small part-time job. Third, the citizenship or residency test. A dependent must be a U.S. citizen, U.S. resident, or U.S. national. Or they can be a resident of Canada or Mexico. There's also an exception for certain foreign-born adopted children, but the core exam rule is U.S., Canada, or Mexico. If the person doesn't meet this, they can't be your dependent, no matter how much support you provide. Dante is the sole support of his mother, Marina. To claim her as a dependent on his Form 1040, Marina must be a citizen or resident of which countries? The options include just the United States with Canada, and a choice that includes the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Think about it. The correct answer is the United States, Mexico, or Canada. The citizenship or residency gatekeeper test allows U.S. citizens, U.S. nationals, U.S. residents, and residents of Canada or Mexico. A tempting wrong choice is United States or Canada, because people forget Mexico is also explicitly included. Each of the following individuals are automatically taxed as residents of the United States, except one. The choices include a non-resident alien who marries a U.S. citizen, several green card scenarios, and someone physically present in the U.S. for 365 days. Which one is the exception? Think about it. The correct answer is the non-resident alien who marries a U.S. citizen during the year. Marriage alone does not automatically make someone a U.S. tax resident. The tempting trap is assuming marriage changes residency by itself. It only happens if the spouses make the election to treat the non-resident spouse as a U.S. resident for tax purposes.